You are listening to Indie Radio, where we do content the indie way.
Justin, clean that up.
Previously on The Walking Dead.
I don't want to be the one leading these people anymore.
We're all going to pitch in and make sure that Sanctuary has what it needs.
I need your help fixing the bridge.
If the Sanctuary needs food, I'll give it to them. But they provide most of the labor on the bridge for us. I made this decision, but this is not the beginning of something. I don't want to go through it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Indie Radio presents Talking About Walkers, the Walking Dead podcast, the show that breaks down all new episodes of your favorite zombie TV show right here on indieradio.org. And now, here are the hosts of the podcast, Kinte, Jen, and Olaf. Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of Talking About Walkers, the Walking Dead podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kinte, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. And I'm joined by my wonderful co-host. I'm going to start off with the one, the only, Jen. How you doing, Jen?
Awesome. What a great episode. It's kind of an odd episode, but what a good one. I liked it.
Yes, and I'm excited to talk about it. Also joining us is the one and only, we call him the captain, Captain Olaf Barbosa. How you doing, Olaf?
Oh, I am fantastically tired. But it's like I got to watch the episode. I just finished watching it, and it's a good one. It's like, as you probably know, around this time of the year is when I have that festival that I work with. And so for the last 5 days, it's like I have been, running like crazy. Got it all finished up tonight. Got home about 9:30. You're like, oh, but I'm just like, got to watch it. Man.
At least you didn't have to work on a bridge.
No, not this time. No.
Well, I'm glad that you are here, and I'm looking forward to talking about this episode. And of course, we have people that are watching live on YouTube. All you have to do is, if you want us to recognize you, I see Kareem Dolphus in the chat room. All you have to do is go to the top chat, which is in the right corner of the right side of the screen, and let yourself be known. All right. So before we get into the episode, I wanted to talk a little bit of Walking Dead news. This was the episode 2 of the season, so we got to go back to last week's episode, and the ratings came out, and it says The Walking Dead season 9 premiere ratings collapsed to season 1 levels. All right, so unfortunately, the ratings for Walking Dead fell down drastically. Last year it was about 11 million, and this year it's down to 6 million, which, and we talked about this before. I mean, 6 million is really high for a basic cable show, but compared to what they had been doing, and they had reached heights of 19 and 20s in the 20s, this is really low for them, and it's all new low. So, it's understandable. Season 9, the show's been on for a while, but it's a big drop off. But believe me, there's so many networks that would take a show that got those ratings.
That got 6 million. Oh yeah.
Supernatural goes through phases like this as well, where it's steady, but it goes up and down. The only thing is, The Walking Dead, you're right when you say, what else do they have that even comes close to competing with that? Mm-hmm. And yet at the same time, I think, we're at a point where people are fatigued with the same stuff again and again. and that I think was compounded by the fact that everybody knows that that Andrew Lincoln is leaving, and so I think a lot of people decided not to tune in this season simply because they already knew he was leaving, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, you have Andrew Lincoln leaving, and then also Maggie's leaving. Lauren is leaving this season, so you got two big ones leaving out this season. So yeah, it might be a little bit not too happy about it.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see? I caught an article. Did you happen to see? I think we were talking last week. The unfortunate passing of Scott Wilson, and that Maggie named the baby Herschel. He actually did get to know he actually was told and did actually know that Maggie's baby was going to be named Herschel before he passed.
Cool. I like that.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So I saw an article and I'm like, well, yeah, we were talking about that last week, but yes, he did actually get to know that the baby was going to be named after him. So,
going back to the ratings, just to kind of give an idea of the fact that, of course, they had a big loss with the ratings, but it's still very high. Another news story came out: The Walking Dead and Monday Night Football win the week. Cable top 25 for October 1 through 7. So this basically shows you that Monday Night Football, which was Kansas City versus Denver, it was a big game too. That the ratings were so high with that, and then you look, The Walking Dead is comparable to the wild card game, Colorado and the Cubs, which was a winner take all situation, and also the Yankees and the A's as well, which was a similar thing. And then you have to go down to American Horror Story, just to give you an idea. Anything that's not football, like now you see where Walking Dead is, number 2. Then you have to go all the way down to American Horror Story, which was out of the top 10, to finally get something that is like scripted, that is even, that can compete. And then The Walking Dead bonus still was up there high. So, and oh wow, Loving Hip Hop Hollywood. Wow, dang, that got high ratings. And then Talking Dead. So they look at this. Talking Dead is the 4th highest scripted thing. So, so that's really outstanding.
I've heard them say that Talking Dead is another monster ratings pull for them, for AMC. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that they continue to do it is because it's not just because people after the show continue to watch, it's that there is such a fan base that will DVR it, come back to it again and again. And so it's become almost a part of The Walking Dead. It's not like a separate show. It's like The Walking Dead. The Talking Dead follows The Walking Dead, and that's what people do. It's quite interesting.
Right. And I'm sorry, that was the the very important 18 to 49. But when you look at total viewers, look how high it ranks compared to everything else. You got to go, you have to go really far down. There's nothing in the top 25 as far as cable shows. So, that's one reason why people keep saying, oh, the show's in trouble. The show's in trouble. I mean, it's not doing what it quite did. But, I guess you would have to compare it to Michael Jackson putting out Thriller, which, sold, I forgot what it was, 35 million copies. And then his follow-up record sold like 15 million. And they were saying, oh, man, it's not as big as Thriller. It's like, it's like, come on, that's special when you do something like that. And 15 million is ridiculous, still. So
yeah, that's still a ridiculous amount of people, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No advertiser anywhere is walking away from a 6 million and going, oh, geez, we could have done better. I mean, maybe they would like to, but let's face it, in today's market, that is almost as good as you get.
Yeah. So, it's not all bad for The Walking Dead. It's just not what it was, but it's still outstanding. So I'll take that. You know.
Well, what is it? Is it no? What to consider a cable show a success? What is it like? They consider it a success at what, 1.5 or is it 2 million viewers? If they have a consistent 1 to 2 million is it 1 million or 2 million viewers that they consider a cable show to be successful?
It depends on the slot, though, right? Because I mean, there are certain slots. In fact, they sometimes they actually move stuff around just for that very reason.
Right, but like I said, even at third, it's like even half again. What Walking Dead pulled in, for the premiere, is still considered a successful cable series.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's very few shows get what Walking Dead. I mean, no, actually, I don't even know what I'm talking about. No show gets what Walking Dead gets.
No.
So
and especially not in the 9th season. I mean, not that many shows make it to the 9th season, but let's face it. I mean, most shows get canceled in that 3rd season. There's a 3rd season syndrome that goes around. And most shows, even by the 3rd season, are down to percentage points off of the million scale. So, I mean, in comparison, The Walking Dead is still doing phenomenally well with viewers.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the top rated. I'm gonna see all time and see if I can. I should say most watched. That would be better.
Well, I can tell you what the top rated most watched show is.
I
know what it is. It's like the Olaf show.
I'm gonna have to. I'll come back to this. I should have had this already.
So I would just, as we pause here for a second, I would just like to know. So when they approached Zach McGowan with the role of Justin, I would just like to know how they approached it with him. Did they just say, "Listen, we need kind of a real jerk, and you're going to get beat up a lot. And by a lot, I mean like everybody's basically going to get a swing at you, even the kid. And you'd have to be okay with that." And I'm trying to imagine Zach McGowan's, or his agent, the conversation that they're having back and forth. Yeah, I'm totally okay with being beaten up by everybody. This is going to be great. I'm going to really like it.
He said, pretty much, it's like, what's the check?
How much is the check? Yeah. Well, it's like, he doesn't really take much. I mean, he gets beat a lot, but he keeps coming back. It's like going, oh, look, see, I got stitches. And, I mean, Daryl was just pounding him. Yeah. And he had like a little spot on the side of his face. So, in other words, he may get a beating, but he's kind of like the Energizer Bunny. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking, Yeah,
I'm going to get into especially the stitches, but let's get right into the episode, and we'll talk about your boyfriend, Zach McGowan.
Okay, so did you guys ever see the cartoon Chowder? Did you ever watch that? Probably you never have, but there's this cartoon called Chowder, right? And there's this one line that Chowder says about everybody who says that this one particular person is his girlfriend. So I just feel like I have to channel that inner spirit and say, he's not my boyfriend. Okay? It's okay. Just putting that out there.
Okay.
He's not your boyfriend, but you so desperately wish he was. Okay, we got it.
We got it.
All right. Moving right along.
Moving along.
So tonight's episode was called The Bridge. I wonder why. And the synopsis is: the communities join forces to restore a bridge that will facilitate communication and trade. Someone is gravely injured at the construction site. Ooh, they kind of spoiled it. No, I'm just kidding. So that was tonight. And, first of all, I want to first start off by saying it was a very good episode. I actually enjoyed this one way better than I enjoyed the first one. I
I
thought,
liked it too.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was good.
very well written. The pacing was good. I thought that, it was well acted, well directed, and it was really good. It was outstanding. I mean, anytime when you see a woman put her hands in between the legs of a pastor, I mean, come on, you can't get any better than that, right?
Oh God.
Why you say, "Oh God"?
Oh, nothing. No, nothing.
Yeah, you can't get any better than that. Okay, so one thing though that stood out to me in this episode is, I think the last thing you want is before, if you're bleeding and you need surgery, the person who's supposed to be your doctor to have to look through the manual. I'd have been like, "Oh shit!"
You're like, yeah. Okay, yeah, that looks. Yeah, you put the tourniquet in the right place. Yeah, that looks right. That looks okay. We're good. Let's go ahead and chop him off.
Oh my god, no! I felt so bad for him, but I mean, it worked out in the end. But it was like, oh boy, and it sucks for him because they just sent away the doctor. So
I saw that coming from a mile away. I mean,
right,
the moment that they sent him away, I knew something was going to happen. But I also feel like, at post-apocalypse, basically the human body has become stereo instructions. Slot A equals. That's pretty bad, actually. I felt bad for her, knowing how scared she had to have been, and her patient is basically consoling her, saying, "It's okay, you can do it." Oh God, that was awful. Oh.
Well, I mean, the doctor. It's like the doctor. They send him away, and he's like, "On, oh yeah, she can do anything I can do. She's ready. She can do anything I can do." And they're like, "Okay, you're out of here." And then the first thing she gets is she doesn't get a hangnail. She gets a mashed arm.
As
So
tests go, this is a pretty big one.
yeah, you're really finding out what she can actually do.
yeah,
So that's a go for, let's like talk about, it's like trial by fire. Whew.
yeah, that's pretty bad. When they got to look through the manual right there,
Mm.
you're like, oh boy. Oh man, that book would have just I'd have probably passed out from the book alone. So yeah.
And how ironic was it? It just happened to be open to the right page, that she just flipped it right open to how to amputate an arm.
Yeah, that's pretty wicked stuff there. So let's get into your favorite character and his attitude. I mean, like, what do you expect is going to happen when you push a kid down, and steal the water jug? And, it's like, do you think that everyone's just going to stand by and go, I mean, the only thing the kid was doing was his job. But I'd like to see Jen defend that.
Well, I wouldn't actually defend it, right? That's why I said, seems like in his contract they said, look, you're going to have to play a jerk. Are you cool with that? Is everything good? There's no doubt that Justin is supposed to, I think, embody sort of the not the last of Negan, because I have a sneaking suspicion that we are not done with that particular piece yet. But I think he's supposed to embody the resentment of post-Negan society at the sanctuary. And I can't say that I don't think that wouldn't be a thing. The way that they have survived so far has not been the world according to Rick, the world according to Hilltop. I feel like this is sort of one of those situations where, although it's embodied in one particular character, this is definitely an ideal that is pushing forward through one character, and that is, look, we've always had Negan. We've always done it this way. we don't really quite embrace what it is that you're trying to do, or maybe even understand it. And I think that Carol and Rick and Daryl tried to sort of come to that understanding in the tent, and even they couldn't get to it. So I don't think that it's necessarily like, I wouldn't defend what he did. I wouldn't defend knocking down a kid. At the same time, I also think that this is just the manifestation of what is happening. That's sort of how things are going. This is what, I mean, they even said, look, 6 people from Sanctuary left the work site. Why did they leave the work site? Something's going on.
We're gonna find out. It's coming up. Yes. So yeah, I'm well, we'll get to that because that's like near the end, really. But yeah, I really just liked how what a jerk he was in this episode. You know, and he was just unashamed. You know, he really just didn't want to be there. Let's just be honest. And you know, we basically saw that clashing coming, right? We saw that this was on the way to happening, and then when the whole log situation happened, and when Daryl found out who was at fault, oh man, you knew it was it.
Yeah.
So,
but you know, not everybody can be a paladin in the post-apocalypse. Okay, I mean, you know, when the zombie apocalypse comes, let's face it, not everybody is going to be the best. And also, I keep thinking back over and over again to Eugene and how much I hated Eugene and how much I still actually kind of hate Eugene, and how often he sort of like not just flipped sides, but did things that were both good and bad, and sort of both for his own self-preservation and maybe a little something else. And it's really hard for me to like say that a particular character, unless he's Negan, is actually sort of on the wrong side of what I think the zombie apocalypse is sort of headed toward. So I don't know.
look at you defending your boy.
Well, it's in my genetic nature. I'm sorry.
You weren't going to defend me and Olaf like he can do anything.
Well, look, if you guys, no, I shouldn't even say that. Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. I'll absolutely do that for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be your defender to the end.
Yeah. We'll circle back to your boyfriend. So let's get into Carol, because Carol's evolution is really interesting. And unfortunately, knowing that she's not gonna be, on the show much longer, it kind of makes me feel almost like, dang, I kind of like this, what they're doing with
too.
Carol's thing, and I kind of low key hate that she's not gonna be on the show, because it's like this is a really good turn, I think, for her character, and I like that in this, opposition is coming from within versus an outside thing, even though we know that an outside force is coming. But I like that, though. I would love to see this play itself out to where she turned into like a villain on the show. If you count a villain as someone who's opposed to Rick, I mean, that's pretty much, what we would deem a villain, because very few people on this show is totally clean, right? So you can make arguments that, like, what they always love to say, if we show the show from the start with Negan's group, then Rick would be the villain on the show, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right.
But using anyone anyone who poses Rick is the villain now on the show, it'd be interesting to see how it would turn out. I feel like this is going to end unfulfilled, Well,
Carol's character arc through The Walking Dead has been so very few characters who started with The Walking Dead, first of all, are still around, but secondly, have done such a dramatic shift from being sort of a victim to claiming her own power to going overboard with that power to sort of having a bit of a psychotic break and needing to kind of be by herself for so, like, I mean, Carol's character has sort of done it all. Aside from Rick, Carol's character, I think, has come through the biggest journey of all of the characters and somehow still survived. And so there's this nice little kind of softness almost about where she is right now and where she's headed. And, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many times I said out loud, I just love her and Ezekiel together, not because, you know, like he says, not fairy tale, but because it's just so nice to have that sense of, oh yeah, there's a tiny itty bitty bit of respite of hope and faith attached to it. And it just seems so nice for her, especially knowing what she's been through.
My attitude is like, I don't know, man. He's going too hard to get Carol. It's like, I'm like, come on, man. You the king.
But time is limited. It's the zombie apocalypse. If you don't do it now, when will you do it?
No, I'm just saying, like, there's other women. Like Carol, why is Carol so special? Like,
hey, the heart wants what the heart wants. What can you say?
I don't know about his heart. I'm just saying, he ain't worth all that trouble. So, okay, all right. What's her name? The Spanish girl. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't think of her name right now. Yeah, you know her.
You talking Rosita?
Rosita, yeah. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going on over to Rosita.
I somehow, okay, look, first of all, I can't believe you said that because
Why?
Rosita and Carol are not even close to the same person. They're not even close to the same kind of personality at all.
Right.
Secondly, don't you want Carol to be happy?
No.
Oh, that's sad.
Why?
Oh my God, I really do want her to be happy.
No, look at Rosita. Come on now, look at her. I'd take Rosita. I'd be like, here's the ring, Rosita. You can have it. I would look at it. Look at Rosita.
You're terrible.
Doing the dynamite and everything. I would be so on Rosita. I'd be like, yeah, we can be.
Also, I love that scene, by the way, where they've got the dynamite and what's her name? I'm sorry, I'm not sitting at my computer, so I my notes are actually not in front of me. But where she basically says to her, "Look, no, I don't trust you because you know, if I had slashed you in the face, you wouldn't trust me either." That little interaction was so telling and so good and so Rosita. It was just so perfectly done. Such a small little interaction, but it was so perfect.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's great. I love, but come on, Rosita. And I'm only saying Rosita because Sasha's not alive anymore.
Oh, poor Sasha.
If she was alive, I'd be like, Sasha.
See, this is apparently why I would never live through the zombie apocalypse, because I have compassion and empathy for like every single person. I want every single person to succeed, even the bad guys. And that I can see would actually cause quite a bit of problem.
I mean, I don't have nothing against Carol. I mean, she can, it's just that if I was the king over there, I would be on over Rosita, not Carol. Carol?
I think she's awesome though, and she's so Carol is exactly what Ezekiel needs.
No, it's not.
I just feel like that is so true. Well, and also he's been courting her forever. He's been courting her forever.
As a man, Rosita is everything she needs. Much more. Times 10. So
wow.
Why is that a wow? Why is it so surprising?
Well, I'm just cheering for Ezekiel and Carol because I believe that this story is long overdue. That they need to have something.
I'm just like, why? They've got to have something. Why is it so hard for him to get her? Seriously.
Well, because of all the walls that Carol has built up.
I'd be like, look, it's the end of the world. I gave you a shot. You tripping. I'm going to the net. I'm going to bigger, better.
Well, that's not what I would think, but I just think that he is so sweet that he gives her all the time in the world, even knowing that they really don't even have all the time in the world, and yet he still gives it
Wait a
to her.
minute.
I don't know. There's
You are
something so
about
wonderful about
he's
that.
dirt on the show, like, oh, he's so great. I'm saying
He is.
no, he's not. Rosita is that she can blow stuff up. She's very beautiful. She is a fighter. You know, she makes more sense than Dustin or whatever his name was. What's his name on the show? I forget. Jerkface.
Yes, but attraction is not a zero-sum game. Attraction is not, well, this person doesn't like me, therefore I'll move on to this person. Attraction is it just happens. I mean, come on. The world didn't change that much in the zombie apocalypse that all of a sudden the rules of attraction have now gone out the window.
No,
I don't believe that.
I think Rosita wins. Come on, if you did like a pros and cons, I'm sure every guy would vote Rosita. Come on, it's not
Carol makes cookies.
Rosita makes tomato.
That is a skill.
Rosita makes tomato.
That is a cookie. No. Sorry.
Rosita,
Well, I'm going with the carbs anyway, so
actually,
I'm following the cookies.
Rosita don't have to cook. I'm the king, so I'll have one of my jesters cook for us. When you that fine, you don't have to cook. Nah, but okay, so let's go to
wait, I gotta go back to that scene. Because that's basically the beginning of sort of it was the catalyst for everything else to happen. So they blow up this pass, right? They charge the dynamite, and that draws all the walkers. And then she gets on, or she says, or no, actually, she doesn't say. That just draws the walkers. And then from there, it seems like everything sort of goes a little bit askew, right? Because even though the first siren goes off, the next siren, which apparently Justin was supposed to be manning, didn't go off. And so that's where sort of the big problem with the zombie horde comes in when they're going to get to the lumber clearing area, right? I've got that right. That's the right sequence?
Right. Yeah, because Justin didn't sound his siren, so it didn't turn the herd.
Which I'll get to in a second. But what I think this is part of the problem that the group is going to continue to face, right? Because they are still doing things as if they are one cohesive unit, and I feel like we got a little bit of information about that tonight in dialogue. They're still trying to behave as if they are one cohesive unit, and honestly, they're not. They are still existing in group pieces, and as long as they see themselves in group pieces, which I feel like is also the glue or the thread that Michonne is trying to sort of put in so that everybody feels as if they are under one umbrella instead of feeling like they are just sort of every man for himself. That piece is sort of demonstrated in this particular vignette where we have this idea of, if one cog isn't working, everything falls apart, or it can easily fall apart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes total sense. It's just that, I mean, I kind of wanted to come back to that because I wanted to tie everything in all together. But no, you make a great point, Hola?
I'm just thinking that from the standpoint of the story, and especially in this episode, although it was a nice story, the larger point of this episode is, even though they believe that they are all behaving, and even though Rick thinks that everybody is behaving sort of cohesively, clearly under the surface, they're not. Something else is still happening. And it's happening with Daryl more than anybody. Because Daryl, and Maggie too, but Daryl especially, is just not on board with this.
No,
not at all. Because remember, he was kidnapped by them. He was tortured by them, And so he has, if you notice, two people that have the biggest issues is Maggie, who husband was beaten to death by them, and then Daryl, who was kidnapped by them.
Right.
I mean, that shit doesn't just go away.
At some point, though, again, this is, I'm sure that in sort of subsequent episodes, we'll hear more and more about this. But the more that I understand the quintessential story sort of this season so far, I mean, we're only on episode 2, so can't read too much into it. But the more that I sort of understand where things seem to be going, the more it seems like, okay, so at some point, either the Saviors are going to be a part of the group or they're not. Now, Hilltop somehow got assimilated, and Hilltop seems to be more of a group of followers than the Saviors, who, despite being a group of followers under Negan, were also a group of doers, whereas Hilltop is a little bit more, they're just a little bit more passive. But if Sanctuary isn't going to be a part of the group, then the question is, what happens to Sanctuary? Do you just do what Maggie wanted to do in the first place, and not just kill Negan, but kill everybody? I mean, like, there are some serious questions that I have about where things are in terms of morality altogether in the space that we're in right now. If they get rid of everybody in the Sanctuary, how are they any better than anybody else? Maybe they're not. I mean, maybe that's the point. I don't know.
No, I mean, honestly, that's one of the big issues about the season is, it starts off as a, they did the whole thing about the future and all of this, and we're all together, and you find out that it's not necessarily true. So,
and I'm not even sure if that was ever the case. I'm not even sure if that was ever the case in Alexandria.
right.
Like, because they can overlook a lot of stuff because this is who we are, this is what we want to do. But let's face it, they screwed up a lot too. So, what you said before, I think, is really telling. The story is, are you with Rick or are you against Rick?
Right.
And that is kind of that's where our moral compass is continually pointing. So it's not really whether there's a bigger esoteric question, or I should say a bigger philosophical question about what is good and what is bad. It's really, are you with the group or are you not? Which is an interesting moral slant.
That is the question.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about John Finn, who was on this episode. He was on, obviously, the last episode as well, and his performance was excellent. And a lot of times, I've been critical. Yardley's been critical that they'll waste sometimes really good talent, and thank God, this wasn't one of those cases. I thought that he did a fantastic job playing this character in this episode, and I loved, all the stuff about, drinking and all of that, and it was a very well done moment on the show, and I didn't know where, honestly, I didn't know where this was going to go. I didn't even know. I thought maybe they were going to go down there and he had turned or something. Like, I really just didn't know where. I wasn't quite sure where they were going to go with it until they let Brett Butler's character see him, and I think that really helped Maggie, do what you might want to say is the right thing or not, but she still shows that she has that edge too, because even though they had that moment, it wasn't all like, okay, I'm gonna just let you go and all of that. She still kind of reaffirmed who she is, and her whole everything on there. And I just wanted to get you guys' point of view on the scene with Maggie and John Finn's character.
Well, go ahead, Olaf. You go this time.
You go ahead.
Okay, so the way that I look at a lot of Maggie's interactions with people, and especially in this particular one because it is so poignant, is I think that Maggie looks with sort of a critical eye to sort of see them together was a bit of a bittersweet moment, right? She's not with Glenn anymore, but I think she understands that there's something deeper that happens, obviously, with, the bond between two people and all of that. But I think the biggest thing for Maggie in this particular one had nothing to do with anybody except Maggie, because this reminded her of her dad, because this reminded her of a very long ago interaction that she also had. And this idea of second chances is, I don't think that that's a mistake on the writer's part for them to bring that forward with Maggie as well. But I also feel like Maggie is so pragmatic that she understands that there is a difference between a second chance and too many chances. And I think that that's what she was getting at when she was talking to Michonne about Gregory, that look, he had so many chances and he wasted them all. And here's a person in front of me who, yes, they've done something really horrific and terrible, and maybe I'll have a difficult time forgiving them, but they still deserve a second chance because a lot of other people are counting on them. And I feel like that was also the point of us hearing the blacksmith hammer in the background as they were talking, that this is what that means. This is the second chance to benefit more people, is he's the blacksmith. He's got a lot to contribute to the community.
Right. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because like you said, because they need the plow fixed. There's going to be other things that they need, a blacksmith to work on, and you can't just leave him in the jail cell because, he did something. But he did something. He did something. He did something really bad, but it wasn't completely unforgivable. And with his talents, too many other people are going to suffer if they leave him sitting in the jail cell. So, kind of bringing him out like, okay, he's got somebody standing there watching him with a gun. He can't do whatever he wants to, but at least he's contributing.
Yeah.
And he also has the support of someone close to him that is trying to keep him on the straight and narrow as well. I mean, you heard him say to her in the jail cell, "It's not your forgiveness that I need." And I feel like that was sort of a throwback to, or not a throwback to, but an obvious sign that he knows that she will forgive him. He knows that. He's got that already sort of as an inherent understanding. What he needs is to be forgiven by the group, if you will, the outside.
Right. And he doesn't feel that he deserves to be still there. In other words, he thinks he should have gotten what Gregory got. Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty heavy when you think about it.
Yeah, he's like going, oh well. How did he say that? He was like, I'm here, but I don't deserve to be here. I shouldn't be here, or I should be here in the jail, but I shouldn't be alive for what I tried to do.
I think what he was saying was that Gregory didn't do the actual violence, that the violence was contained within him, and that is part of who he is. And so, here's Gregory manipulated him, gave him the drink, did whatever, but the actual physical violence came from him because that's what he's capable of. And right. I could see that actually as being sort of as a moment of both humility and a moment of, wow, this is what I'm capable of. So I feel very sad that this is what it is, but I also have come to grips with the fact that if this had been sort of pure justice, it would have been me and not Gregory.
Right.
Does that? Yeah. It's funny because I keep hearing people say. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You keep hearing people say what?
Well, I keep hearing people say that that The Walking Dead in this season is sort of the Wild West with zombies, and they seem to go out of their way again and again to sort of reinforce that motif over and over again. Because, when you look at a lot of Westerns, the people who die in the course of quote unquote justice are not always the people who are directly representing the violence done or perpetrated against others. It's the people who are the idyllic responsible parties for that violence. And that, I think, is what they were trying to say about why Gregory had to die, because he was the one that was, he had the ideals that were responsible for it, not necessarily the physical action, not the muscle behind it, but all the brain power behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love what she said, though. She was like, did I hang the wrong person? He didn't, he was like, no.
No.
Oh, no. You did the right thing. Yep, nope.
Good answer on his part. Good answer.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so before we continue on with the episode, I want to circle back to and some of you guys probably know this already, what I'm about to say, but remember we talked about the young man who was assaulted by that horrible Justin, who I can't wait till he gets his on the show. that terrible human being. But some of y'all may know that the young man who plays him, his name is Maxon Lentz. Maxon Lentz is the little brother of Madison Lentz, who played Sophia on the early seasons of Walking Dead, the first season, who's on the great show Bosch as well.
Nice.
And her sister too. She has they have another sister too.
Yeah, Mackenzie,
thank you.
who was on the Dome.
Yeah, Under the Dome.
Under the Dome, yeah.
Yes. So, for those who may not know, for some reason they have these lenses get on the show. So,
well, they're good. I mean, he's actually really good.
He was on Under the Dome as well. Briefly, here goes Mackenzie.
That can't be easy. It can't be easy to stand around with a group of adults and have to play into the adult action that's happening and still maintain your own sense of character. That's got to be hard. I actually give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, I know. Nice. Cool.
Also, let's face it, he got to RP. He got to act with Zach McGowan.
My God.
I mean, life goals. This is great.
Oh my God. I'm sure he doesn't even think about it.
Well, he should.
No.
It's like, now you're talking about the lenses and the base. It's like Madison was one of the first interviews that I did.
Oh yeah, at the
convention. She was one of the first ones that I interviewed, or one of the. That's like she was in the one of the first ones that I interviewed.
At what convention?
That was Walker Stalker Chicago, and we interviewed Adrian and I.
Adrian
Navarre and I were working together. And after we got done with the interview with Madison, we got a picture, and Mackenzie is actually the one that took the picture of Madison and I. So I had one celebrity taking a picture of me and another celebrity.
Nice.
Yes, that's funny. Let me actually.
So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say. So what did you think? So aside from the obvious, jerky nature of that particular scene, that there was something interesting about the building of the bridge, which also caught my attention, and that is Rick keeps saying that they are behind schedule for the building of the bridge, and I would like to understand, and I don't think I have a good handle on it, why he feels like they are behind schedule. Because I get that they want to do things before a certain time, and possibly before the horde gets there, which is, I think, that's what I was hearing. But I can't quite understand why there is such a rush to get the bridge done at a certain schedule time. Like, is there something that I'm missing? Is it the harvest that's coming in from Hilltop?
It would help with that, and as far as they'd be able to get from Hilltop to there easier because with the bridge. Otherwise, they've got a big long, they have to go so far out of the way to get there.
Right. Right. No, I get that.
And
I get that. I get the expediency of wanting the bridge project to be done.
but I'm like you others. I'm not quite sure why he's saying they're so far behind schedule, because it looked like they laid the last piece of wood in for the actual roadway in tonight's episode. I mean, they were still working on the superstructure of it, but it looked like they put the last piece of wood in for the actual roadway.
Yeah, I feel like there's something that we're missing there. I don't know what it is, but something is not quite clicking for me in that. I don't know what it is.
They probably told the people that it was only going to be but so long that they would have to dedicate to it to get them to agree. So they're behind schedule because, it's like, when you go to a group of people and say, okay, this will only take 3 weeks or whatever. And then they say, you remember they had to get all sides to agree to be.
That's right.
So if they're running late, then now it's longer than you said it was going to be. So now there's moaning and groaning, and you only said it was going to be 3 weeks. This is now, I think that's more or less what they were referring to.
Okay. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And let's get to the 800-pound gorilla in this episode, and then I'm gonna bring some other things up as well to go along with it, because all roads will lead back to Dustin or whatever his name is. You notice I'm not saying
Justin.
I'm not saying it right.
You're doing it on purpose.
His name is Ethan. No, the 800-pound gorilla is Negan, and we finally get to see him. And I love the dialogue between him and Rick. I thought it was really good, and I liked the whole. He said, "You're just getting the world ready for me." I like that he hasn't changed his tune even in incarceration. He probably views them keeping him alive as a weak move. So he probably,
for sure,
in his mind thinks, I would have killed me. Like, you're foolish, to keep me alive. But okay, I'll take it. You're gonna feed me. You're gonna, okay. So he's just waiting for that opportunity to get loose. And I just
their interaction right then was like, he's like, you're just getting the world ready for me. And it's like, I love the, like you say, the going back and forth. And Rick was like, do you ever get tired of thinking that you're in charge? Do you ever get tired of, thinking that you're still in charge and when you're not? And like when Negan says, when do I get to see this new world you're creating? And Rick's like, never. You will never see me outside of this cell. You'll never see it.
And
it speaks though to an interesting dynamic that I think that Rick has always had, which is not that he respects Negan in the way that respect would normally be used, but he has a sense of awe about Negan. I don't know how to describe it. There's something there that Rick is desperately trying to show him, or show himself, actually. I think it's more about Rick trying to convince himself that he's on the right path. And somehow making Negan see that the world is a better place without him, that the world is a better place when everybody works together, when, the Pollyannas of the world can take over. Somehow that seems like that's Rick's conversation with himself, not really Rick's conversation with Negan. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying when I say that?
Oh,
Like,
so.
it doesn't feel like Rick is actually having a conversation with Negan, although he is. This is actually Rick trying to convince himself that everything that he's doing thus far is for the right and good purpose. That, you know, look, see what we've accomplished. We're on our way. This was a really hard day, but, you know, this is what we got out of it. And it feels like Rick is looking for someone to kind of be that burden to bear some of the ideas that, or not ideas, but bear some of the heartache that he feels about things maybe not going right. And Negan is totally not the right person, but he's the only contemporary. That's the word I'm looking for. Negan is the only contemporary that Rick has. I don't even think that he looks at Maggie the same way.
No, not at all. I love though when he says, when everything goes to shit, are you gonna come and tell me that?
Are you gonna come and tell me about that day too?
Very good, man. He's an excellent. First of all, he's a great actor, and this was one of the best scenes with Negan in a weird way, because sometimes I think it's a little over the top, and you know, but this is really well done. Like, I have to say, the writing in this season is pretty good, and well, it's only 2 episodes in, but I really enjoy.
Yeah, so far it is good though.
Yeah,
So far, so good.
except for that, you know, the whole hacky plot to try to kill Carol. It sounds like something on The Young and the Restless or something. But you know, hey, we can't be 100%, right? So, I really enjoyed this. This was pretty good.
See, sometimes Negan can be a caricature of himself, right? Without intending to and without the writers needing to do very much, Negan becomes the caricature of Negan. And there's so many different levels to play that, because I am Negan, because the group is Negan, because Negan is Negan. It's just, I mean, it's multifaceted. But when you pull Negan away from everything else and it's just this kind of solo conversation, Negan becomes less of a caricature of himself, and he becomes more of a this is the brass tacks of what the underpining of who Negan is by himself. It's like the dialogue can stand for itself because the actions there doesn't need to be any action involved. And it's different because usually we always see Negan doing crazy things.
You know, I would really have loved to have seen Negan against the governor. That'd have been epic. That'd have been epic because, you know, they both kind of have a similar mentality.
Right.
And, you know, it'd have been interesting to see if they clashed, you know, but of course.
Do you think Negan and Justin were friends?
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's sitting there thinking like, how are we gonna get my boy out of there? So yeah.
Do you think so? I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if he's actually, I don't know, maybe, but
so who wrote We're Still Negan or something?
I know, but that doesn't, see, that's what I'm saying. I Am Negan is not just about Negan the person. Okay. Because I Am Negan is the sanctuary understanding that we are us. This is who we are. We are all Negan. And so the personification of Negan doesn't necessarily have to be the Negan figurehead, although it is. It can be many different layers. And that's why saying I am Negan does not necessarily mean I am the Negan in the cellar. It means we are sanctuary, we stand by ourselves.
Or it could be exactly what I said.
Or yes, I mean, of course, but that's why I ask. You know, did you get the feel? Because I didn't get the feeling like, you know, the Justin character was like, oh my god, I feel so incensed that Negan is in jail. In the world I just didn't get that.
You know, no, it's not even just that. Is in the world that Negan ran, he probably had a bigger role in it. Now he's just a worker bee working on a bridge, having a kid tell him how much water he needs to drink. In the
right.
He probably lived. You know, he probably didn't have to listen to no kid. He could have taken as much water as he wanted. He probably had a better life. under there. So now you know, like to be on top and then to fall, you know, down to the bottom, like it's not easy. If you were the general in the army and then you were bust down to private, I'm sure that you might jump out of a window.
Yeah.
You know, to
Yeah.
go far down. It's like you were rich and then now you're not rich anymore. You got to now live like a poor person. So you have to live.
And
You have to live.
I kind of wonder if that's why he doesn't have such a problem with Daryl too.
Yeah, because he's sitting there like, before, man, when in my other life, I wouldn't have to listen to no clown like this, you know?
Yeah, and Daryl is such an every man's man, you know, in a weird kind of a way. And I just wonder if that doesn't sort of just rub everybody in Sanctuary the wrong way. It's why I don't think that Daryl would be an effective leader of Sanctuary anyway. What was Rick even thinking putting Daryl in there? Just didn't even make any sense.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know, for whatever reason, this reminds me of Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World. Hyde, remember that from? Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it, but it just reminds me, you know, like he's thinking he's safe up in the Hyde, and you know, if you read the book, that's where they came after him. It just kind of reminded me of that. I was sitting there thinking, like, I wonder if they're gonna somehow get them, you know, up there. But I definitely wanted to before I get to the very end, when we circle back to your boy, you know, after she just molested the pastor there, he's excited. You know, she looks up into the sky and sees a little something. Wait for it. There you go.
What is up with that helicopter?
Yeah, it's either you.
That's not a helicopter. That's too high for a chopper. That's an airplane.
Is that an airplane?
That's an airplane. That's the lights on an airplane. That's not a helicopter.
Huh.
You know what? That's interesting. Because in Talking Dead, we refer to it as a helicopter. So maybe they just don't know, or maybe it's a UFO.
It could be, but as high up as it is, and the way it's moving, to me, and the lights that are on it, I'm saying air. I thought airplane, not helicopter.
You know what? That makes sense. I honestly, you're right. You know what you're saying, but I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, they just didn't do a good job with it, or I don't know, like, or maybe they wanted to obscure it so much that that's what they came out with. But
yeah, but the thing is, with if it were a helicopter, you would hear it.
Right.
See, I think that's what they were trying to avoid. I think they were trying to avoid that everybody would hear that it was a helicopter, because they don't want everybody to react to it yet.
Right.
A helicopter has different lights on it. In other words, your running lights on a helicopter are different than what's on an airplane.
No, you're probably right. It could be.
So what do we think that is?
It would be a small airplane.
No. What do we think that signifies?
That the government is still doing something,
or somebody is.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Either government or either somebody is still has a plane that works and is still able to fly, you know, somewhere. There's more people out there than what you think.
Yeah.
And we don't know right now if the timelines between Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead have crossed, right? We don't have that clue yet.
I'd say they're close, because with Morgan joining Fear and the transition between him from The Walking Dead to Fear the Walking Dead, his transition from there, I'd say they're fairly close to the two combining, because Morgan his initial thing was he was going to head back to Alexandria, and he was going to take all his new friends from Fear back with him.
Right.
So
we don't know if there might be some kind of another. Well, okay, so we know at least one character continually alludes to her secrets, which clearly is sort of represented by this. But we also don't know, based on Fear the Walking Dead or The Walking Dead, if there is anything else that's cohesively left over from the government. Or I shouldn't say cohesively left over, I should say any remnants or any scattered pockets, because in the beginning of Fear the Walking Dead, there certainly were plenty of them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's still some of those out there. But I tend to think something different. I tend to think that this is not about the government per se. I tend to think that this is something else happening, a different kind of organization, or a different kind of something we haven't seen before. I don't think it's the government.
Yeah.
First of all, have you seen how our government runs? Because
Yeah.
I don't think they could withstand the zombie apocalypse.
Well,
Yeah, it is something. It may not be government, but there is military stuff. It may not be government, but there is military behind it.
You know what I think I might end up doing is just going back from where we left off with Fear and just go through it and catch up, because I'm like at least 2 seasons behind. I think I
Oh
was,
wow, you've missed a lot.
Yeah, I've stayed up with it. So
where I left off at was it was the mid of the 3rd season, I think it was. It was after the big fire at the Mexican compound.
mhm.
And so I think when I tried to watch post that, and I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes, and that was about it. But
Wow, yeah, you missed a lot on there.
yeah, I mean, I pretty much know. You know, I'm probably like I know pretty much everything. Like I know who died of the main cast, and I don't know how exactly, but I know pretty much who died. As far as the main characters, I'm not trying to say too much because if they haven't, people might have not caught up. So, we're going to assume that people are caught up with The Walking Dead. So, but as far as Fear, I don't want to say too much. But anyway, so let's talk about this episode, though. Hopefully we'll get more of that. Because remember, the priest molester chick, she saw a helicopter, I believe, when she was fighting the governor, right?
There was one coming. There was a helicopter coming to pick her up or pick up some other people or something. There was something that she needed the flare to get the helicopter to land or something, because it showed up when it's like when she was. It showed up in the junkyard there, and since she couldn't light the flare, it didn't land or whatever, and just flew off.
She knows what's.
So she knows something.
She
about
knows
what
what's
that
behind it. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's no doubt about that. She does know.
And
there are things in the comics which would give us some clues about what might be happening. So
we can talk about it off air.
Yeah,
but
I won't talk about that.
Okay, so going back to your boyfriend one time. I promise
I'm just going to embrace this and say, okay, great. Yeah, he's my boyfriend.
All you who hate Dustin or Destiny or Susie or whatever his name is, the last time we're going to mention him in this episode.
Justin.
Justin.
Jen's boyfriend.
Stacy. Right?
you can just call him Jen's boyfriend. Yeah. You know that scene where Jen's boyfriend does that thing?
That
was great.
No, so the very end scene, he he decides that he's going to leave, and he says, I wouldn't even want to stay here. I'm leaving in the middle of the night. First of all, I wouldn't leave in the middle of the night during the zombie apocalypse, and like that's crazy, right? But I think he thinks of himself as a tough guy because he took on that kid and lost. Actually, he lost every fight he had.
I know.
This is a great
He did.
episode.
Yeah, but he may have lost the fight, but if you look, he didn't come out too bad. I mean,
I know he's not.
after that one fight, Daryl's spitting blood, and he didn't show any blood.
Yeah, he has no wounds at all, and he found it. So
That's
maybe,
pretty funny, actually.
yeah. So, and as you see, look at this, another one. Bam. He's just like, maybe they weren't fans of black sales. Maybe that's what.
Well, maybe they just wanted to protect his pretty face.
I don't know. Daryl was laying into that pretty face quite a bit.
I know, but Daryl's face is. I'm sorry, everybody's going to hate me, but Daryl's face is okay. I mean, it's okay to kind of get messed up, and I don't say that because I think Daryl is ugly or anything. Although I'm not a huge fan, but Daryl has sort of that. A couple scars on Daryl would probably make him look better, but there's certain characters that just don't sort of fit well with that. So I would like to know why you would leave the camp in the middle of the night.
That's what I
first
just
of all, okay, yes, but on top of that, he was also drinking.
Right.
Which makes me like, okay, so let's just add double jeopardy to the top of.
This long after the apocalypse.
I mean wow, that was pretty bad. And then clearly he knows the person that accosted him, and that makes me sort of think that this is all Negan related again.
Yes, I agree. I think all roads go back to Negan, not your boyfriend.
So who's left? Who's left that could be organizing something or accosting people? Maybe keeping him prisoner.
Maybe Zombie Simon.
Because remember they were saying. What's that?
Zombie Simon is doing it.
Zombie Simon. There we go.
What happened?
Remember how?
What happened to the dude with the burn face that was kind of going back and forth?
Dwight.
Dwight, yeah. Did Dwight die?
No.
So where's he at? Did they ever mention what happened to him?
Well, last episode he kind of he got in a little bit of trouble.
Dwight, was he in the last episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened? I'm trying to remember.
He was just at Sanctuary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was anything big.
All right, let me.
But
he was at that scene. He was in the scene when Eugene messed with the guns so that they blew up in their face. In other words, he didn't. It's like Dwight didn't have one, but he had that. He had the shirt on that Daryl had that had the A on it.
Right.
And he might have just run off, but he didn't. He was. I think he's still alive.
Yeah. And I hear that we're going to find out what happened to Heath this year.
Also, there must be a reason for Eugene saying, or no, was it Eugene? I forgot who it was that said that of the people in Sanctuary who had gone off, who had left, some of them never made it back to Sanctuary. And they were really upset about that because some of them didn't seem like the type of people that would just run off and leave.
Right.
Like, they were people that had families. They were people that had ties.
Right.
So that seems like maybe there's a level of nefariousness happening that is not just people are just abandoning the work site or something.
Right. Well, didn't they send some of the sanctuary people to Hilltop with supposedly some ethanol, and they never made it?
Yeah.
In other words, the fuel disappeared, and so did the sanctuary people disappeared.
Yeah.
So they don't know if they got Walker attacked or if they just deserted.
So this doesn't seem like it's the prelude to the Whisperers, but it's something. There's some intermittent issue is happening. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely interesting. Just to think, and it seems like it's only Sanctuary people that are being targeted, because I didn't hear them say anybody from Seaside or anybody from Hilltop or anybody, like nobody else is just missing.
Right.
So it's got to be a Negan thing.
It has to be. I'm trying to pull him up to see what he's doing. Well, he's gonna be. He's listed in.
I was just gonna say, can you look him up on IMDb
now? And it doesn't. It lists him at like the back half of the season.
Oh,
yeah.
So maybe whatever is revealed.
Like it says, the first episode it has him in is 9/14. So that's next year. So let me pull it up. Because I was sitting there like, okay, I knew I wasn't on drugs. I was like, yeah. See, it says 9/14. First episode.
So wouldn't that be today?
No. 9/14 is episode 9. I'm sorry, season 9, episode 14.
Oh, episode 14. I thought you were saying, okay.
9/14, that would be September.
I thought you were saying season 9, but for the 14th day, like today, like today's date.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Gotcha.
So you're episode 14 of season 9. Is that what you're saying?
So do we think and I mean, obviously nobody's really going to know at this point, but do you think that the running conjecture should be that that not only is sort of the Negan idea not dead, but is it that it has, or it will morph into something else? Can we see that could happen? Remember, they don't have any guns.
Mm-hmm.
They've been stripped of all their weapons. Well, all their guns, maybe not all their weapons. So they're really on their own when it comes to being protected. So is it possible that there's something maybe going on that side? Like they resent not just not being taken care of, but they also resent not having weapons?
Yeah.
Like, where else could they get weapons?
It's like the whole thing is they are now in a situation that they weren't in. Where, when you were the top dog, you were the one that you were the straw that stirred the drink. And then now you are in a situation where you're underneath someone else's thumb. And even though they're way better to them than they were to anyone else, that's what it is, man. They just hate being in this situation. They want.
Well, I can't imagine that Negan's propaganda for the last 2 seasons has just dropped off into nothingness. That even if the people in Sanctuary are like, oh yeah, good, I'm glad that Negan is suffering and whatever. I can't imagine that all of the Negan propaganda against Rick and Alexandria is just all of a sudden. It's like it's been assimilated into the greater good. I don't think that's how that happens.
No, I don't think so either.
And I would think that the writers would be smart enough to not play us like that, like, oh yeah, okay, everything is just going to be great because, and again, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, which is each one of the groups sort of has its own fracture. And just because we're not seeing it necessarily in Alexandria, I feel like we've seen it in Alexandria a lot. And so now we're sort of seeing the other communities being fractured by the same types of things that we've seen Alexandria be fractured by. But now, because it's a whole group, we're just seeing it sort of on a macro level instead of on the micro level that was Alexandria.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a lot of good stuff coming, with this show, and I'm looking.
Also, I really loved Michonne's ending piece about the basic common laws. I'm so excited about this. I feel like this is such a perfect Michonne piece. As much as I want to see Michonne out there hacking with her saber and her sword, I love the fact that Michonne has some active understanding of law not law, common rights, which it just feels right. Especially with the whole governor thing. Like, it just feels like, oh yeah, this is such an awesome end game for that.
No, wasn't Michonne wasn't she a I don't know, something like a legal aid or something like that? Not a lawyer, but but it's like was a paralegal or something like that went in before everything went to shit.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
So it all makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. All right, I want to thank everybody for listening, and of course, our wonderful panel. I'm going to start off with you, Jen. How can people get you in social media and all that good?
They can find me on Twitter at Following Bliss One and on the web at Critical Laughs with 2Ls.com and moviesmakethemeal.com.
Movies make the meal, and we're going to have some new. If you can, for our Wednesday Halloween show, it'd be great if you could come up with something for that.
I was just thinking that. I was actually thinking that maybe next week I would do a Walking Dead inspired menu and share that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool.
All right. So, what about you, Olaf? How can people get you?
Well, you can stalk me on both Facebook and Twitter at Olaf Barbosa, but just don't stalk too close because I do get nervous and I do have an itchy trigger finger.
Hilarious. You can get me at Kinte F on Twitter, as well as you can go to our website, indyradio.org. That's indyradio.org. Next week, we'll be back with all new episode of Talking About Walkers, the Walking Dead podcast. If you're a fan of indie radio, tomorrow night, we're having our all-male panel of our Men and Women Talk, the Mars Venus show.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. Olaf will be on that. And this week we have now on Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We have Talking Mayans, the show that covers the FX drama Mayans MC. And I got to add the MC on there because if you just say Talking Mayans, people think you're talking about. I've had
we're doing history now. Okay.
So we're not talking about the ancient Mayans, but so that is on Wednesday, and then following that at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, we have the Spotlight, and the Spotlight is going to be a special episode because we will be reviewing with a panel 1978's Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. I haven't rewatched it yet. Who knows? I might do that tonight because I just love that movie. And it's going to get everybody ready because on Thursday night, Halloween 2018 is coming out. And I've heard, I know several people who've seen it. All the critics are gushing over this film. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it. If you're a fan of the Halloween series, you know that there's a lot of sequels. And look, I'm trying to think what is the best sequel of all of them. Some people say H2O. Some people say the second Halloween. Some people say, I'm talking about the Michael Myers saga. Some say 4. None say 6 or Resurrection. so I actually thought about us talking about in some way all of them, but I'm sure a lot of people probably hadn't seen them all. But I've definitely seen every single one, even the remakes. The remakes, which I didn't like. But big fan of that, and looking forward to chopping it up, talking about Halloween. We're gonna go in depth about that. So that's all this week, right here on indyradio.org. I want to thank you guys once again, and we'll be here next time. Peace.
Thanks for listening.